welcome in to episode 4 of Who's the A-Hole. I'm pretty excited that we have made it to 4. This is very nice. We haven't crumbled. We haven't crumbled from the ever-mounting pressure of, oh my god, why do people suck so much? Just in general. But anyway, for those of you...
It's about to get juicy.
Oh, we got some... and also ones today. So for those of you who don't know, your hosts of this amazing program are myself, Rob Very, and
Helen.
Hey. How you doing today, Helen?
I'm great, and you?
Oh, doing just fine and fantastic. Just doing mental exercises to get ready for these today, because it's a lot.
This one seems heavy, so I'm just letting y'all know there is a trigger warning here pertaining to death, cancer, and premature birth. So if you are not comfortable hearing any of those topics, feel free to pause the video, close, whatever you need to do. Just letting you guys know.
Yes.
There is a trigger warning.
Yes, indeed. And we will... Yeah. Hopefully there should be a little note in the description or something of a timestamp for when we start the next one, if that is stuff that you guys are unable to handle or deal with or whatever you need. But with that being said, Helen, if you would.
All right. Now, before I read this, I just want to clarify, this was posted a year ago, just to give you guys a context of the time frame of when this post was made, because I do think it might fit into what's going on here. So the title is, Am I the Asshole for Not Letting My Mother-in-Law Meet Our Baby Before She Died? All right. Me, 29, and my husband, 32, had our daughter a few months ago. Due to complications, I had to have an emergency C-section, and she had to be incubated for a few weeks as she was born prematurely. We weren't able to be by her side at all hours of the day, and it was agony for us. And it has made me overly protective of her. Eventually, she was strong enough to come home, and for the first 2 weeks of her being home, I was still recovering from her birth, and she was still so tiny and frail that we didn't go anywhere. We did have family members in our bubble come around to help out with housework, bring us meals occasionally, the usual, but they always came to us. We didn't go out and take the baby to visit people. My mother-in-law was a phenomenal woman who'd been battling bowel cancer for 3 years. Over the past year, her body had gone progressively weaker, and she was essentially bedridden, but was still very sharp mentally and was excited to welcome her first grandchild into the world. She was receiving care at home, as they basically told us that there was nothing more they could do aside from make her comfortable during the time she had left. We knew it was eventually coming, we just didn't know when. Understandably, my husband was eager to take our daughter over to his parents' house so they could meet her properly. But the thought of taking her out on a trip on a trip that wasn't absolutely essential, i.e. healthcare related, made me anxious. I didn't go over to visit while I was recovering, but he visited mother-in-law regularly alone. I was just apprehensive about him taking the baby, and I hated the thought of being apart from her again after what we'd been through, even though it'd only be for a few hours. I told them that I wanted our little girl to meet her grandparents so much, just not yet. Hang on a little bit longer. Sorry, I just rolled my eyes there, but okay. Anyways. Sadly, mother-in-law ended up passing away before we could take our daughter around to meet her. We are all heartbroken, and the grief has hit my husband hard. He's starting to resent that I kept our daughter away from his mom, and he's become quite hostile towards me. I feel guilty and selfish. There was no malicious intent behind it. I genuinely didn't think mother-in-law would be taken from us so soon, and my mind was too focused on protecting our tiny baby. The more I think about it, the more I feel like I was overreacting, and now there's no way I can fix this. My husband has been sleeping in the spare room, and I feel like I've sabotaged the happiness we should be feeling as new parents. My family and friends are on my side and say I couldn't have predicted the future. I was just doing what I thought was best, and my husband is only acting this way because of grief. But I feel terrible, and I know I've made the process of losing his mom even harder than it would have been. My father-in-law is upset about it too, although he doesn't seem to blame me as much as my husband does. Am I the asshole? That's a heavy one.
It's heavy. It's complicated. I think there are a lot of perspectives to take into account here.
She's not entirely in the wrong, but she's also not entirely in the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That this is difficult because I don't straight up think she's an asshole, but to some extent, it's somewhere there. It's like you're not an asshole,
Yeah.
but you're not
Yeah.
like 110% an asshole.
Yeah.
You're
Also,
like,
there were some edits if you wanted to add those
oh
in.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So okay, the first edit is mother-in-law passed 3 weeks after our daughter came home. And then the second edit is my anxiety at the time was not pandemic related. It's a factor, yes, but wasn't my reason. It was more to do with separation anxiety. I know it's not a good reason either, and I should have just gone with them. I was just reluctant to leave the house once we were all home after not allowing myself to recover properly after the C-section due to constant visits to the NICU. Okay. But still, like, I'm sorry. OP, I do understand your concerns, especially with a newborn baby that was born prematurely. I'm not trying to be understanding of that. I'm not trying to like invalidate your feelings and everything, but I have to point this out because you wrote it yourself, and I'm just trying to look for it right now. God, where is it? It was when she was talking about the mother-in-law. Oh, here it is. Right here. You wrote it yourself. We knew it was coming eventually, we just didn't know when. You already knew it was a very time sensitive thing. You already knew there was not much time left with mother-in-law. So that's why I can't say you're not an asshole.
I can see that. That
You clearly knew this was a very time sensitive thing. You knew this was very, very important to your husband. And another thing is like I don't know if like maybe OP was worried about, at the time with COVID and stuff and with the premature baby, right? But okay, I didn't need to clarify this too because like clearly you had a small bubble of people that would help you guys out, whether it was like house cleaning, dropping off food and stuff. But like you also don't know where these people have been or who they've been in contact with, right? So that kind of invalidates that. And also it's like clearly your husband has been visiting his parents and coming back home to you guys and nothing happened. So I'm so sorry. It's just like there's nothing to really.
There's nothing.
I can't back you up like 110%.
There's nothing pandemic related here that logically adds up. But she did put in the edit about that it was separation anxiety, right? That it was separation anxiety, possibly a light form of postpartum. Like it's the reason why I wanted to make sure that we think about that too is because though I personally don't remember it that much, my mom has recounted it quite a bit. My next youngest brother was born very, very premature. So we know exactly what that was like way back in the 90s, well, 1989. So the caution and likelihood of literally any infection of any kind, as far as we understood, could kill the baby.
And I understand that too. It's not like I said, I'm not trying to be not understanding of that.
Right.
I get it.
So
premature babies that's a serious thing.
In addition, and I understand that, with the separation anxiety, it's really hard. And she did say later that she should have just went with them to avoid that if they didn't have pandemic concerns. But I also just this whole thing is making me like I'm so torn.
This is why it's not a clear like you're the asshole.
No, I'm so torn because like the father was already visiting. I mean, obviously she's dying. I understand wanting to see. your parent, you know, you don't know when they're going to die. But with between that and other people coming over, like you mentioned, they were already taking insane risk. I think already they were doing something very stupid at the beginning, like incredibly awfully stupid. And
that's why I wanted to point it out, not because like I get like that's another thing with the pandemic, like trying to be cautious with who you're in contact with. But the reason why I brought it up was because it's like why is it if you're so worried about your baby, then why is it there's so many people in your bubble?
And it's like people just didn't understand it, you know, and that's this is part of why I have such a huge, massive issue with it. Additionally, I don't know if they were aware, but there is a neat thing that phones can do now where they use data in order to transmit video. So at the very least, they could have done that and shown live,
like wondering, like
the video and the baby and the grandma, like.
I really, it's just like, did she not ever see any videos, photos? Like, what was it?
Like, why? I guess the upsetness has to from the dad has to do with that they didn't get this, like the grandma didn't get to hold the baby or something. I assume that's what it is, and I know that's pretty important, but
I get that too.
It's just very, God, I'm flip-flopping, bouncing back and forth on it.
I know, it's no clear cut. For me, I can't seem to like decide if she is an asshole or if she's not. She's somewhere in between.
Okay. I'm gonna think about it another way, and maybe we should both try this. If I am the old person dying of cancer, and I know I'm going soon, and my child has a child that is just freshly born, even if there were no issues, but we were in a pandemic, and I knew I was going, would I be insistent on seeing them, or would I do my best to reassure my own child that I understand and ask them not to be upset about the choices being made? You know, and if they're religious, they could say, and I know one day we'll see them anyway. It's okay. That's what really I would be doing. Bring up,
because I think a lot of people, whether they acknowledge this fact or not, but like with us being in this pandemic with COVID, unfortunately, a lot of people that have passed away in hospitals alone. Because hospitals were not allowing family members to come into these hospitals because
it's been horribly tragic. Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, it's really unfortunate for the mother-in-law. I'm just glad, you know, like, she was able to pass away at home in the comforts of her own home, right? Probably next to her husband and everything, and so I'm thankful for that. The thing is, I don't know what the mother-in-law was thinking, whether it's like I really want to see my grandchild or not.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to blame her either, but I'm just
this is not the mother-in-law. Like we don't know that. But with that being said, I do understand where the husband is coming from, for sure, because like it is a very time sensitive thing. Right. And we kind of talked about this in like the last post with family. Remember?
Oh yeah, from last time.
The importance of family and spending time with them, because you don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so unfortunate. Like 3 weeks after the baby was born, you know, the mother-in-law passed away. No one's gonna be able to predict that. But like, I feel like she was trying to justify them being careful because of the newborn, the premature newborn, but at the same time they were kind of making decisions indicating like how careful were you guys? Because it kind of didn't seem like it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so like teeter tottering, because like I'm just like, oh man,
it's very difficult. It's a very like, because
this one's not a clear cut one.
When the whole thing hit with all the pandemic stuff and it was coming down the hatch that like we're about to be quarantined and stuff.
Yeah.
I heard about it a little early because I had been planning a trip at the time that was going to start basically right exactly when the pandemic started. And so I got a little bit ahead of it, and I just went to the store, bought a whole bunch of non-perishables for myself, and just in case if my roommate ran out of stuff too. And I was fully prepared to literally not be able to leave at all. And I did it that way for a while. Like there was a good amount of time when I only did pickup from the grocery store, and I didn't go anywhere else, period, for anything. And I'm like, you know, a relatively healthy young person.
I didn't leave my house for like 3+ months straight.
Yeah.
I was just cooped out inside.
Yeah, exactly. So when, you know, constantly hearing about other people being like, oh, it's not that bad, or it's a hoax, or all that garbage, and not taking it seriously, it meshes into this stinking post.
Yeah.
Because this mother's real issue with it was this separation anxiety. I think we can completely rule out that it was pandemic related, because
of course
they weren't doing anything to stop pandemic stuff from happening. So we run into another issue. Again, part of it is because of me having grown up in a much different societal culture that did not take mental health stuff very seriously at all. A lot of the times when it would sound like silly, where you could just do it, just get over it, is still a bit in me and screaming a little bit right now, because I'm just like, well, if you have separation anxiety, then go with them. I don't understand. But then again, I don't understand exactly how a lot of those mental health issues work. So I'm sitting here like, well, I can't judge it so much.
Like, I don't like. It's such a this is really hard. This post being like new parents, like I can only imagine what OP went through.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to, like I said before, I'm not trying to invalidate that experience of, you know, having to deliver your baby much earlier than planned, for her to be premature, and then having to see that and witness that and just wonder when you'll be able to bring her home, and hopefully she does come home, right? Like that is a very stressful, anxiety inducing situation. So I can only imagine why she felt such a strong way with the baby of not wanting to be separated from her. That is fine. I completely understand that. But like it just didn't seem like there was no compromise between her and the husband on what to do. Like, right? Like I guess it kind of sounds like there wasn't really much of a discussion. Like you said, like they could have just done video call instead, which would have been better than nothing.
They could have at least done that, and it doesn't say that they didn't do that. So maybe they did, but
maybe they did. We don't know, right?
But like, the husband, you know, would still be upset. But here's the thing that I've been thinking about. I was looking at the comments a little bit. I'm starting to be swayed. There's this sentence that says, "But the thought of taking her out on a trip that wasn't absolutely essential, i.e., healthcare related, made me anxious. Yet she knew, and her husband knew, essentially for a fact, that the mother-in-law was dying probably at any moment, any day."
Well, and I did bring that up. Like this is a very time-sensitive thing. And like I said, OP wrote it in there.
And they said, the fact that they said that such a trip, to put all of this together, such a trip is not absolutely essential. That really does rub me the wrong way, because I feel like in the same way that you would go to see your own parent when you knew that they were dying and nothing would stop you, Like, what if this
It is very
child
unfair. It
was
is very
older
unfair.
and could have made the choice to do it? They would think it's essential too, most likely. And I'm
Yeah.
curious
I did
if it
notice that
was
too, the way she worded that. I did note
exactly
that.
if it was OP's mother.
It would be a different story completely.
She would have probably taken, because she would be scared to leave the baby to be separated, so probably would have brought the baby. And I
Right.
think that is probably the crux of the husband being angry. She doesn't mention it in here at all, and I understand why, because this would really paint her in a bad light. But if she was completely honest, I think she would have had to include that it would have been different if it was her parent. That because he could just go and she doesn't need to go, means the baby doesn't need to go. And that's kind of swaying me to think, okay, this is another hard topic, and I think we've talked about this before, and I don't think we ever really came to a consensus on it. We are, quote unquote, supposed to, and I'm not saying that in a pretentious way, be understanding of mental health issues of others. But when is the point at which your actions, because of your mental health issues, are inexcusable regardless?
Well, I've always felt strongly that just because you are going through things and you have your own mental health issues, you can't use those as an excuse to be a dick. You can't treat other people like shit just because you're going through something. And if it ended, obviously, sometimes, you know, in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking clearly and you kind of just lash out. Well, I hope that once you are more calm and realize what you did was wrong, that you fix it. You own up to it and you apologize. Like, I know that, you know, I'm going through things, and, you know, whether it's my anxiety or my depression, that's just, you know, making things a lot harder. I'm so sorry that I reacted that way. That wasn't the appropriate thing for me to do. And I'm so sorry. I'm really trying to work on these things. Like, there has to be a level of self-awareness, accountability, and
yes,
you wanting to work on those things.
yes,
right? You can't always use your mental health as an excuse, right?
Okay, see, and even the way that you're saying that, like, this is kind of, I agree with you, but it's, you know, we're gonna post this, right? So this is a little bit, it's a little bit scary to try to even wrap our own heads around it, because I know there's going to be folks out there that are saying, well, I don't have control over it, this, that, and the other thing. And like, trust me, we understand. Helen and I are not immune from the same issues y'all are facing. In fact, we have done silly things ourselves that we then had to
I catch myself
like actually apologize to people for and stuff, or at least make them, or at least try to have them understand or whatever. But this is a case to me where I would be curious if the post went like this. We had all of this information, and there was a reply, and it was the husband, and he says, I was very, very upset, but what I never told her was that I snuck the baby out, and I took her to see my mom anyway, and I didn't want my wife to know because I knew it would make her upset. Is the husband the asshole? I would be so because to me, okay, maybe this will.
Do you think he would be? Okay, we're saying hypothetically, because that's not what happened.
Because we don't have that information.
Yeah, we don't have that information, right? Yeah.
Because
there's so many factors.
Yeah. So this is what I want to say, because for me, right, in this situation, and I don't know, maybe this will cost me something, but I would most likely do this. I don't know if it's good. I'm just gonna say, I would most likely say to my wife, this is not a question. I am taking my child to see my mother
It's not just her child.
Our child. Our. Yeah. I want to indicate that there's also agency. I have agency too.
This is what
I'm
I want
to indicate. Yeah.
A realization is like in this scenario.
Yeah.
Well, yes, she is protective of her baby and she has every right to be. It's not just her child.
Right. So I would be like, I'm taking our child to see my mother. Yeah. You may come with us. In fact, I would love it if you did. This is not a question. I am leaving in 20 minutes. That is what is happening. Like, I think I would have most likely done that.
And you know what? I think I could see other people doing that. I could see that, especially in a very time-sensitive situation.
Oh, for sure. Like, there was a...
And I wouldn't blame... And even in a scenario like that, I wouldn't even blame anybody.
No.
I wouldn't be upset. I would be like, you know what? It is what it is. I get it.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong.
I still think I would have been on the fence if it turned out the husband had done that instead of what happened here. I still would probably be on the fence, but I think I would be much more understanding.
Exactly.
Of their perspective.
Like, I wouldn't be happy about the way the husband did it if he did sneak behind the wife's back and took the baby and everything. Obviously, this is hypothetical.
Yeah. We don't know what happened, but we're just trying to think of, like, we're both trying to get off the fence.
Like, I literally understand everyone's position in here, and it's shitty. It's like, it's just unfortunate. It's just really, really unfortunate. It's really, really sad. You can't fix it because, unfortunately, the mother-in-law has passed away. Like, there's no fixing.
Yeah. I think in the end,
and honestly, OP, I feel so sorry for you because yes, you should be celebrating, a new life, but I cannot deny that your husband also has every right to feel the way that he does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The anger.
I think that is true. 100%. I'm just rereading this part because to me, I'm ruling out that the pandemic was the true cause. Yet she still does try to be insistent. Said it was a factor. She still was being insistent on protecting our tiny baby, is what she said. So I think I want to come to a conclusion. So maybe, I don't know if asshole is, I think it might be strong here, but if it's only everyone, no one, not, or yes, I think I do have to say that she is. And I think well, that, like I said, like, I couldn't say she was 100% an asshole. Yeah. But
I can't say that she's not. So, like, remember I told you, like, she's somewhere on that scale.
Yeah. So I think she is. And I think her feeling guilty and selfish is a thing that should be happening. And that her and her husband and her father-in-law likely need to talk about it and work it out and understand each other. And then I think everybody needs to chill on it, because everyone
needs to talk about it. Everyone needs to go through and process what happened, because if they don't, more resentment will grow and more problems will arise in the future. And I just don't want that to happen to them, because obviously, yes, take the time to grieve. Of course, you should do that, but don't forget, there is a newborn here. Y'all need to get your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of this baby, and I hope that you will raise the baby with love and care, and not with feelings of resentment that is deep down because of what happened.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that I'm just hoping for the best, because it's just so unfortunate.
Well, yeah, the whole thing sucks, and they're all gonna have to take time to mourn. I just hope for everybody involved that they don't let this carry over too long, because they have a lot more to focus on, and eventually the baby will, or everyone will, get to meet the child, and that they can move forward. And there's always plenty of touching things that the wife can do later regarding this.
Yeah.
I've seen things where you either do it yourself or you can pay a service to there's a picture of, people who have died. There's a picture of them when they were alive, and they Photoshop the little baby in there. I've seen that. I think that would be so touching, you know? It's like you still get to have something with them even though they're gone, you know? And there's even in my family, like our grandparents are all gone now, and I'm pretty sure they were, I don't remember 100% now, but I'm pretty sure all my grandparents were gone by the time my brother had his second child. So, you know, they just never knew them. So there's still plenty, like there's still so much life. And I think I think that needs to be the focus going forward. Once they get through their mourning and their grief, focus on life. Focus on life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my main concerns is, and God, because it could happen. The husband might not be able to recover from this and might not ever forgive her.
Yeah.
That's a reality of things, because I feel like he's very valid in why he's upset. Because she's basically essentially saying to him, without really saying it, it's like, what I want, my needs, is very, very important. Your needs, it's not. And the reason why I feel this way, even though maybe she might not intentionally mean it, though, is because it's very clearly seen through her actions, right? And especially the way that she worded it, and you pointed this out, of her saying, despite her saying that and knowing that she fully knew mother-in-law was going to pass away. Just didn't know when. You already knew that she was really sick.
Yep.
There's no way that you didn't know, because you even mentioned it, that she was bedridden, and they sent her back home to feel comfortable because there was no more they could do. I mean, I don't know what else screams this person's going to pass away.
Yeah, this is
anytime now.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have the audacity, I'm sorry, but to say you don't think taking the baby to see the mother-in-law is an essential thing. I'm so sorry. That is
that's exactly what I was trying to point out earlier, and what really kind of has swayed me. I can't
believe you would use such words like that, because it's clear to your husband, like, this is something really important to him.
Yeah.
And it's like what you said, because if it was the other way around, if it was your own parents, if it was your own mother, you would have no second thoughts and bring your baby to see your mother.
No.
And so it's clear to me, you know, it just whether you meant it or not, it's your actions speak volumes.
Yep.
And wow,
it sways me, and I think and we'll probably wrap this one up so we can do the other one, but I think the reason, and partially why I got swayed thinking more and more about the wording, especially with you just talking right now about it again, is I have worded things like this for the purpose for that purpose before, knowing that if I say it that way, that it will tug in a way that will make me get my way, and then I felt the guilt, I felt the selfishness, and I was like, yeah, she's doing that, and when I do that, I'm the asshole. She's the asshole, not a crazy off the wall wild asshole, but asshole nonetheless.
That was a rough one.
That was tough. Let's see if this one's any easier, okay? All right. We'll shake this off.
That was a heavy one. My God.
Yeah, that's the longest we've ever talked about just one. So
that was really heavy. that was really hard, because what a difficult and sad situation.
Awful, atrocious, and it is likely not unique. That's the most tragic part about it.
I know.
There are probably
I can see that family falling apart just as it's beginning.
100,000 grandparents who did not get to see their grandchild before they passed because of COVID or because of whatever it was.
Right.
But especially COVID.
True.
So our heart goes out to all y'all, dealing with that kind of stuff. And I hope you're able to get through it. We're all trying here. And that's why we're telling you guys about these crazy stories, because in some cases they'll hit us really, really close to home. And in some cases you'll be like, People be actually legitimately insane. Speaking of this, allow me to read this post.
Oh, here we go.
This is a very long post. It has a lot of information, and I think we can come to a conclusive decision. But we will see, because that's how I'm remembering it. Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law the truth about my brother? My brother Joe and sister-in-law Jill have been together for 10 years, and they have 4 children together. Joe works full-time at a factory, and Jill has very inconsistent work history due to her attitude. To be frank, Jill has a nasty, entitled attitude because she believes that Joe makes a lot of money, and she doesn't really have to work.
Okay.
The reality. Joe constantly asks our parents and his younger siblings for, quote, loans that he never pays back. He also has everyone pitch in to buy their children's school clothes and shoes every year. Oh, and not to mention, he's always asking to use our cars instead of using his non-working wife's car. Our family has always fallen for Joe's sob stories because 1, we love the kids, and 2, his wife will not work to support her family. Recently, my siblings and I found out that Joe is a huge liar. He's severely in loan/credit card debt, and he's a gambling addict. Turns out he actually does make enough to take care of his family, but is so far in debt that he can't. We also found out from her family that he told Jill that she doesn't have to work.
Huh?
I'm telling you, this is good. At a family holiday gathering, Jill approached my sisters and I, stating that their oldest daughter, Jill's 15-year-old daughter before marriage, needs to get a job. Jill then went on to say that she and Joe had jobs at 15 and they purchased their own first vehicles. My parents are wealthy, so Joe didn't get a summer job until 19, and my parents bought him not 1 but 2 cars by the age of 20. I was so taken back by the revelation that Joe has been lying to Jill about being able to afford their lifestyle. Without thinking, I told Jill that what Joe said was untrue and that our parents and in the last 5 years his siblings have always taken care of him, even now at the tender age of 40. Jill called us liars like we don't know our brother, so I showed proof of how he's borrowed thousands of dollars from just me, not including our parents and other siblings over the years. Soon other siblings joined in telling Jill the truth about Joe. Jill was furious when she finally realized that Joe was not as financially stable as he claimed. Am I the asshole for telling her the truth? Additional info. Here we go. This is good stuff. These last 5 points. Jill knew about him gambling, but not the loans and credit card debt. We just found out a couple months ago about the gambling. I know everyone's irritated about Jill's nasty entitled attitude, but she likes to keep up with the Jones, but always has hated work. She had many paid opportunities to go to college to start a career. She was accepted into nursing and physical therapy assistant programs, but refused to enroll. Joe and Jill, number 4, are both toxic and dysfunctional. His vice is gambling and her vice is weed, but Joe is the issue in this post. I could write a book on the love story and dysfunction. And 5, we haven't given him an unlimited supply of money. Sometimes it's just clothes, shoes, snack money for the children. They are both neglectful of their needs.
Oh, no.
And when we're done talking about it, there's another little edit in there that's almost like an update. So
everyone's the asshole. Oh, sorry. When I be like everyone's the asshole, I mean Joe and Jill, you guys suck.
Yeah, Joe and Jill are awful.
Yeah, you guys suck. My God.
They're some of the worst people. They have kids, of course. every time this happens, like, oh, well, it wouldn't be as complicated, but they also have children. How great of them for being such toxic, disgusting humans that they have
let me
reproduced.
just say that OP is not the asshole
for
telling the sister-in-law the truth, because that's.
There's a point.
Oh wow.
There's a point at which you just have had enough of. Even if you don't like the person at all, you're just tired of they think the wrong thing because they're being lied to, and you can prove it. You eventually just get tired of it, even if you don't like them at all. And you just tell them. And you tell them, and then they didn't just tell them, they proved to Jill
The receipts.
Factually proved. They had the receipts.
They brought out the receipts.
And
then the rest of the family joined in and was like, we got receipts too, bitch.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god, that's basically what happened. Yeah.
Also, motherfucker's 40.
I know.
40 years old.
It's not like he's 20.
It'd be slightly different if he was in his 20s.
Yeah, because then I'd be like, you're just young and dumb. You still have time to get your shit together.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have time to get his shit together, but it's just like at
He
40, you
still
would
does.
think you would have gotten a little bit more of your shit together.
You'd be closer to the shit on the shit together scale.
Yeah, right?
You'd be closer to together than shit.
And they have 4 children. That's a lot.
Yeah, trust me, I know. That, like I said, I've got 3 younger siblings.
And
I understand.
be saying, I think, and this is the sad part, is that the both of them are not neglecting the needs of their children.
Yes. That is the scary thing I wanted to bring up. That is
really, really scary. And I can understand why OP themselves and the family have been trying so hard to help out Joe, is because obviously they're not doing this for Joe. They're doing this for the children. Right?
Indeed they are. And I wonder if this is a situation where now that things are coming out, would the child protective services be involved? Should they be involved? That's a scary thing. There are future posts that we're going to talk about where OP is wondering if they're the asshole for calling child protective services. I'm curious if you think if any of these family members got that kind of authority involved, if they would then be the assholes.
Sure. But
I like spicing it up because it's already so good.
there really are people like this out there.
Yes.
And it's funny because OP talking about Jill and how nasty she is, but then being like, but that's besides the point. I still told her the truth.
Yeah, OP's a good storyteller. Well done.
Right?
Kudos.
Good job, OP.
Kudos, OP.
And then literally coming out with the truth about their brother and how irresponsible he is. And it's crazy because it's like, yes, his job allows him to have enough money to support his family.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is the money's not there because it's all going towards the debt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm like, that is fucking insane. He literally has the means to take care of his family, but he all of that is gone because of the debt.
Yes.
And Jill has no idea because he told her, yeah, you don't need to work. Hello? Now, the other thing I have to wonder is, after finding out about the situation, do you think she's going to be, oh shit, I need to get a job now?
Like I said, there's a little edit. There's a little edit update.
Oh, okay.
That I'm going to say I could read off here in a little bit. But I also kind of wanted to... So again, as I said a few episodes ago, having worked with special needs kids for a couple of years and knowing the situations and our own protocols that do involve, if this happens, you must call the police, or if this happens, you must call our office so we can contact Child Protective Services. I'm wondering here, revealing this truth to Jill is one thing, but I'm wondering where the level of concern for these children are, because it doesn't seem like, in the traditional sense, the on television sense of being abused, they may not be, but they are. It seems very evident that we have most likely an unfit parent situation, at the very least some levels of neglect, but it will never look like that because the whole family is helping.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious because I don't think either of them will ever really learn. I'm just curious if the nuclear option is something that should even be considered by any of this family. And what you think about that. For those of you who aren't watching and only listening, she has entered a deep thought. And remains. She is struggling.
I'm just so baffled. I'm like, really? Like it's the last "Am I the Asshole" post to this is like day and night. Like the last one was so hard to come to a conclusion. This one was like clear cut. It was just like, yeah, you're nowhere close to being the asshole, but your brother and sister-in-law are they're big time are assholes, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yes. Because I was scrolling through the comments and I don't see I see people talking about divorce and stuff again, but you know, I'm not seeing anything about people. People seem to be less concerned about the children than I expected. Ooh, there's. Ooh, okay. I finally found one, but I also found there's one dissenter here saying that OP is the asshole. I'm very curious about this. Yeah, let me say this.
Where is that?
It's several comments down.
Because a lot of it's saying not the asshole.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Does it
6,
say going
7.
against the grain?
Yeah, it starts with going against the grain. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Let's start on the fact that Jill is not entitled. She believed she was able to be a stay-at-home mom, a fact you clearly resent. Oh, she was lied to by both her husband and your family for years. Oh, why should she return to work when all of you covered up how broke they really were? Oh my God, it's like I was saying this. You sprung this on her at a family party. It's very obvious you were gleeful doing this. From your own comments, the kids are healthy, fed, and fine, except for not keeping up to your money standards. You did this not out of concern, but as a fuck you to Jill. And then it says, also thinking pot is a huge vice today. That's just grasping at straws. I mean, pot is a huge vice, but
I think that's kind of stretching it a bit because
it is.
Because in the post, nothing says that OP is jealous. I don't know. The post is just pretty much like she's just laying down the facts.
Well, I could understand by the wording.
Oh, interesting.
By the wording, it does sound like.
But I will say I didn't. Sorry, the thought did cross my mind. At one point, I was like, yeah, how come no one in the family was like doing anything about it? They kind of were just like, oh, we're gonna slap a band-aid on this. Because again, like when a family member like continuously is always asking for money like that, like how long have you guys been covering this up for him?
Well, it could be up to 40 years.
Yeah.
So probably like 15, 20 years, I would guess.
Like you're enabling it too, right?
Yes. And there was a portion in here. This is why I wanted to dissect it a little bit. Because I think it's pretty clear cut overall that for telling Jill she is not the asshole. But there is some level of investigating the intent that this commenter brings up. Because what is the point in telling Jill? The only reason OP told Jill was because she found out her brother has been lying to Jill. And she didn't say that she then told Jill to make sure that Jill understands all of it for Jill's well-being. She told Jill so that her brother would be outed for being a liar.
Ah.
And if you kind of think about it in that context,
I'm kind of leaning towards everyone's the asshole.
Yeah, it might be in everyone's situation because, like you said, the family has been supporting this for how long?
That after kind of reflecting a little bit of like what is going on, it is true. The family kind of enabled Joe to be the asshole.
Yes.
Like that's how he ended up the way he is today. Right?
So I think that revealing the truth is not an asshole maneuver. I think that's okay.
That was okay.
But
I do agree with that.
The fact that there was a truth to reveal is all of their fault. It's the whole family's entire
they
fault.
Him for so
long. And again, maybe this is a bad stereotype I mean, but it was mentioned about the family being wealthy, and I see it very often in children who grew up in a wealthy family. That two things: one, there's no consequences for their actions because they can always get bailed out of it, and two, they think everyone else is entitled for doing anything like what they're doing, but they're not entitled. Everyone else is entitled. I hear it time and time, and we heard it from the last U.S. president as well. So
I was digging through the comments, and I actually finally found one that said everyone is the asshole.
Okay.
Yeah. And it says, everyone's the asshole. She should have been told, but not in that way. She needs to change her attitude, and your brother needs help with his gambling. It sounds like the whole family have kept this from her for a while. So again, everyone's the asshole if that's the case, which that's the conclusion that I was coming to as well. Your family, no matter how hard it is, very, very hard. I have a brother with an addiction, needs to say no to the money requests. The guilt trips will be awful. You'll feel like shit. He'll hate you for it. But if you keep giving him money and bailing him out, it's never going to stop. I do agree with that.
Yep.
Like, why were, like, I get it, like their intentions of wanting it, like, you know, the intentions were most likely for the good. They have children. They want to help out. But just giving him the easy way out is not going to fix the problem, which is because he has a gambling issue.
Yeah. Yep. So I wanted to dive into that so that I can then read this edit. And man, that almost feels like we scripted that. I'm telling you right now, we never do that. That we don't have time to script things. We have a list of posts and that's it. So this happened naturally because listen to this update. Thanks everyone for the helpful and unhelpful responses. So first of all, right there, I'm like, okay, I think we're right. From this experience, I've learned that people make a lot of assumptions. They had a hyphen between ass and umptions from limited information. LOL. My dad is handling Joe and making sure the kids aren't being taken advantage of. I told him a few of your suggestions to run a credit check to make sure that there are no credit cards in their names. Dad talked Joe into going into counseling, so hopefully that will have a good outcome. Jill is not mad with the family, just Joe. We've talked a couple times since the party, and it's been pleasant conversations. She's also RSVP'd for Thanksgiving dinner at my sister's house. As far as Joe, he was ill with us, understandably, until Dad chewed him out. He knows he was wrong for lying and gambling. We told Joe we love and support him, but will no longer enable him or tolerate lies. Not 100% positive Jill will actually divorce Joe, but I doubt it. And that is the update.
Everyone's the asshole.
That they are. Everyone sucks here. They're all atrocious for allowing this to go on so long. They're probably all still fine people except for Joe. Joe is really actually awful, but the rest of them aren't. They're just misguided in helping this and then just allowing all of this to fester. I would be curious, just like I was with the last one, to hear from the husband. I'd be curious one day to hear from Jill, who had all of this happen to her, and find out like, hey, you okay? They all thought you were this, that, and the other thing, but it seems to me like you were just trying to live your damn life and raise your kids. So on behalf of the internet, Jill, I'm sorry. Because I also judged you very quickly the first time I heard this, and this time when I read it as well, before taking some time to analyze. Because holy shit. Anyway, it was still very different, but there was subtlety to explore in this one, which always is exciting.
Yeah. It's the truth will always be revealed.
I like how much time you've been taking to kind of just let this wash over you.
Yeah, sometimes when you first read it, you really have to digest some of the points, right? Because sometimes you read it and it like goes over, and then you go back and you read it again and you're like, wait, why did you write it like that? Why'd you use that word? Right?
Mm-hmm. See, this is what I'm saying. In 7th grade, we did literary analysis and learned how to analyze how authors wrote things and what they really meant, which a lot of that is BS too. But I think perhaps maybe someday a 7th grade literature or language arts or English teacher should present them some of these posts and tell me, why do you think OP wrote this way? What did they really mean? What are they hiding? Because they almost always are. They almost always are. There's something devious within the wording. And that's what we're here for. Helen and I will always weed it out.
True. It's true.
With that being said, which is obviously my favorite phrase, I think we should call it here. I think we've recorded our longest one. This one is probably over an hour, but it is very fun and sad, but fun, but also very sad.
A lot of heavy stuff.
A lot of heavy stuff. And anyway, if you all have anything else you'd like to comment or share about this, if you watch on YouTube, please leave us a comment. We'd be very curious to hear from you. Otherwise, feel free to message us or tag us on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @verygood, VARYGOODE, and Helen, yours is?
Mine's _doomsdaygal, GAL.
So we hope to hear from you. And that is the 4th episode in the books. So we're going to take a nice long break to recover from the ridiculousness of today. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. And we appreciate it. Have a good one.
Bye.